Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we'll be looking at the characters and the roles that each character play in the play titled Death and the King's Horseman by Wole Soyinka. We have already discussed the plot of the play in our subsequent video and lesson. So today we'll be looking at the characterization and the role each character play in the play. So we'll be looking at about 5 characters, and please remember to subscribe to the channel so that you will get notified when the video on themes in the novel in the play is uploaded. So we'll be looking at the character of Elesin Oba. Elesin Oba in the Yoruba tradition is the chief and the king horseman who is supposed to die 30 days after the death of the king. So we saw in the play, The Death and the King Horseman, that the Elesin Oba was preparing to die. He prepares himself to die, but is thwarted from that goal by the colonialists. So you can see the interruption of the colonial culture and worldview against the Yoruba traditional system, in which when the king dies, the Elesin Oba has to die with the king, because the king still need his services in the afterlife. So it is believed that as he serves king on the earth, when the king dies, he will still be serving the king in the great beyond, or in the world after this earth. So we saw that he prepares, but his preparation was thwarted because the colonial administrator Pickens saw that as barbaric and nonsense. He did not regard the traditional culture of the people, even though his wife Jane cautioned him several times that he should also regard the people's worldview and not treating them rudely. But he dismisses the wife's suggestion and told his wife Jane that he should not interfere with his work. So we saw that Elesi is a loud, vivacious, and lusty man who enjoys the pleasure of the living, and for all his talk of shame, seems somewhat hesitant to die. So we saw that even the Elesi was not ready to die. He insists on marrying a young girl who is already betrothed right before dying. The girl he saw in the marketplace, even though the girl is already betrothed to the son of the Iyaloja, but he still insisted he want to have an affair with the lady before dying. So you can imagine somebody who has been prepared to die in the day to come, just in less than 24 hours, still want to get married to another woman before dying, so that he can enjoy himself with it, even though the girl was betrothed, engaged to another man. Yet Elesi still succeeded in marrying him. Then we saw that Elesi supposed to commit suicide, but he refused. And then later he committed suicide where Simon Pickens kept him after he realized that his son have died. His son Olunde has died. So it is very a sad incident, and even Iyaloja blamed Simon Pickens for the death of the two people, Olunde and Elesi, because it was only Elesi that ought to die according to the tradition. And then another character is Iyaloja. Iyaloja, we can refer to him as the model of the marketplace. She is initially solicitous of all Elesi's needs, including making sure that the lady Elesi get married to a woman. But we also saw that she began to criticize Elesi when Elesi refused to die. The more she criticized Elesi, the more Elesi pointed accusing finger on Simon Pickens, the colonialist who is the one administrator of the district. So he condemned Elesi for refusing to die. Elesi also accuses Simon Pickens for not letting him to die. But in the actual sense, we saw that the body language of Elesi does not want to commit suicide. Elesi still want to enjoy lives. He still want to get married to more wives. He still want to enjoy life. So we saw that Iyaloja, he criticizes him so much, and Iyaloja is somebody who is also having a significant power in the place. Iyaloja means the head of the marketplace. in the Yoruba literal translation. So he's the one that controls the market, and also when taxes are collected from the market traders, from the traders in the market, Iyaloja will have to collect it together and probably give it to the colonial administrators. So we saw here that he provided all the needs of a lesson at the beginning, but since because a lesson refused to die, Iyaloja also was so disturbed and then criticizes a lesson for failing to follow the tradition, and he has incurred the wrath of the gods, and disaster may befall the people because of a lesson's refusal to die. Another character is Simon Picken. Simon Picken is a self-important, pompous man in the play. He's the district officer who is committed to duty and enforcing English law, even if it interferes with the local tradition and rituals of the people. He expresses prejudice and intolerance of the Nigerian Yoruba culture, and is often short and callous with his wife Jane. So we saw that he is probably drawn as a stereotypical English colonial officer who do not have any form of regard or reverence for the tradition of the people. He called the tradition as nonsense. For even LSC to try to commit suicide, he regarded it as a total nonsense. He does not want LSC to commit suicide, and he does not want the tradition to continue. Not that he's so concerned about the life of LSC, he just wants to destroy the tradition. And then another reason was that His Royal Highness, the Prince, coming to visit the district that day, also he does not want the king to hear about any kind of a suicide. So that may also blackmail him, or even leading to the prince seeing him as incompetent or not discharging his duty for allowing somebody to commit suicide as a result of tradition. So he arrested, he said the local police, and then Leslie was arrested and then was detained. Leslie was in detention till his son died, and then where he was in detention, the rope that was even used to tie him, he used it to commit suicide. That is a lesson. So Simon was so concerned about his interest, the colonial interest, and the English law. He hated the people, insulted them, never listened to his wife, even advised to be moderate in his dealing with the locals. He refused. Then another character is Olunde. Olunde is the first son of a lesson in the play. We saw that Olunde is a very educated child. He was educated in England but returned to Nigeria to bury his father. When he heard about the death of the king, he did not hear about the death of his father Elesi before he left England, because according to tradition, as long as the king has died, ultimately within 30 days the Elesi must die. So he prepared from England to come and bury his father. Although Western educated, he does not adhere to the values of the English people, and he sacrifices himself when his father refused to die. When he came home, he was so disappointed that his father was still alive, and as a result of that, he disowned his father, and he wanted to sacrifice himself so that the king can go and rest well, and probably he is also going to go and serve the king in the afterlife. So we saw that he eventually committed suicide, and then the market women and the Yaloja brought out the body of Olunde, took it to the detention camp where Elesi was detained, and then they unwrapped the cloth, and behold, it was the dead body of Olunde. When Elesi saw it, he was so disappointed that he screwed himself, and then he died. He strangled himself to death. He strangled himself to death in the detention. And we saw that after the death of Leslie and the death of his son, Yaloja blames Simon Pickens for such unfortunate incident. Then another character, even though Olunde was so educated, he never adhered to the culture of the English people. He obeyed and adhere and respect his own Yoruba culture. Another character is James Pickens. James Pickens is more loved by the locals than her husband Simon Pickens, and he also have the superiority complex of the English people. She also considered the locals as maybe lesser beings, but she was more considerate in dealing with them than Simon Picking. She cautioned her husband several times, but her husband never listened to her. And at the same time, she discussed with her Olunde, and she even wanted Olunde to ensure the culture is aborted. But rather, in the discussion between her and Olunde, Olunde was more concerned about adhering and praising and eulogizing the culture of his people, rather than try to downthrow it or to suppress it in order to promote English culture. And Jane was also very, very, very disturbed even about what was happening at that time. And we saw that she was naive and somewhat ignorant. Jane is more likable than her husband, as I said, and she tried to understand the Nigerians a bit more than her husband. So she's more nuanced than stereotypical, but possesses the unfortunate prejudice of the English people. Another character is Sergeant Amusa. Sergeant Amusa is a Nigerian sergeant who is offended by his boss. His boss is Simon Pickens. His boss sees all of Egungun costume. You know, Egungun is part of traditional Yoruba masquerade, and then it comes out seasonal. There was season for the masquerade to come out, and then when the masquerade came out, Simon Pickens sees the costume, the attire of the masquerade, and then he sees there about 2 of them. So on the day of a costume party, Simon Pickens decided to wear the masquerade costume, and then the wife also, Jane, wore it. So Sergeant Amusa was not so comfortable with such kind of sacrilege and abomination. Though Simon was telling Amusa that Amusa is a Muslim, so he shouldn't be more concerned about traditional practices. But as we know, even though he is a Muslim, he was more concerned about the tradition of his people. So he told Simon Pickens that what he does is a sacrilege, and there will be a severe consequence from the cause. But as usual, Simon Pickens dismisses Sergeant Amusa's opinion. And then we saw that he was like an errand boy for them as well. When Elesi was preparing to die, it was Sergeant Amusa that went and informed Simon Pickens of what was happening before Simon Pickens interfered and ensured that Elesi did not die. Another character is the praise singer. The praise singer is he foreshadows the intention of Elesi in the play, because he was doubtful whether Elesi will commit suicide. And it was really him that told us what happened, really, that Elesi did not die. So we saw that his primary function is to dialogue with Elesi and also to praise Elesi and the tradition of the Yoruba people through song, and also he had a lot of banter with Elesi. So we saw that he found it difficult to believe Elesi, and also we saw that his belief or his doubt of Elesi actually came to play, because Elesi did not commit suicide. Another one is the bride. The bride did not perform much role, did not play much role in the play, in the sense that even her name we did not know. But she was a girl working in the marketplace that Elesi saw when she was talking with the market women, and Elesi loves her or lost after her, and he ensured that he marry her before he dies. Even though the bride was already betrothed to the son of Yaloja. Yaloja also ensured that, okay, since Elesi want to die, he should marry the girl, and they probably have a day or 2 with the girl before dying. But we saw that after even having an affair with the girl, Elesi refused to die. He was blaming Elesi, blame also the bride for not letting him die, because of the affair with the was so interesting to Elesi, more than obeying the tradition of his people. And then also we saw that let's blame her and blame Simon Pikin for not committing suicide. So she was a gentle, calm bride. He never argued with LSC one time, and we saw that she was beautiful. Another character is the prince. The prince does not play much role in the play. However, we are told that she was coming for a formal visit to the district, and as a result of that, Simon Pikin ensured that there will not be any form of money or any form of unfortunate thing like a suicide happening when the prince will be around, because that may jeopardize Simon Pikin's job. The prince may interpret that to be inability or incompetence of Simon Pikin, and as a result of that, we saw that the prince visited, and the prince did not hear anything like a suicide, because Simon Pickens prevented the suicide or the tradition of people from taking place. So she was a very good man according to the description by Simon Pickens and Jane, and he's one of their superior who can even sack them from their position if they do not discharge the job well. Another character is Joseph. Joseph is just a servant of Jane Pickens and Simon Pickens. He does all their domestic chores, and they even force him to convert to Christianity. And Joseph embraces Christianity. Even though he was a Christian, he still considered what Simon Pickens was doing as a blasphemy and sacrilege. Now you can see the two characters in the novel. We saw the character of Amusa, a Muslim, considering what Simon was doing as a sacrilege, as a blasphemy, as a taboo. Then Joseph, who also have converted to Christianity, also saw what Simon Pickens was doing as a blasphemy. So we could see from the Yoruba tradition, or from the author's point of view, that despite the religious affiliation of any Yoruba man, the reverence for the culture is maintained. So we saw that Simon, several times, Simon abuses Joseph, but Joseph would not say anything. Joseph was like not just a servant, but a very poor servant that could not even defend his own right. He does anything that the Pickens wishes, and we saw that he was really disturbed about the activities happening, especially the implementation of the English laws and English cultures in the society, in the Yoruba community. So there are other minor characters in the play, and they do not play much role. We have one of them, which is A.D. Camp. A.D. Camp is a British, as his name implies, he aids the resident and then Simon Pickens in their duties. And then we have another one called the resident. He's also the superior of Simon Pickens, but did not play much role, though he was not too comfortable with the activities of Simon Pickens. So subscribe to the channel so that we discuss the themes together in our next lesson. Thank you and have a good day.